try to do this without kicking the stand over here. I know I was shooting some video a while back in the studio. I think we were doing the computer casting, and one of the accidents that happened there was I kicked over the stand, and the little iPad I use went for a fly and ended up cracking both surfaces pretty badly on the concrete. So it's still usable. So what we're doing right now is shaping these. I've got this one a little ways along. The idea is this is a top lane, like I said. It's got to fit in up in here, and then when it's in full articulation, like when I want it to be able to sit without gapping. That way, a person sitting or with SCA, Western Martial Arts, they tend to fight from their knees. So, which is not exactly what these things were ever designed to do, in period, but it is required of them for what we do. So I'm fixing these ones up a little bit. It's got some refining to do on this one. So I'm going to continue working with this. Yeah, lane to the other leg. As I said, I've already begun by getting our primary flute in, but now I've got to dish these surfaces, roll them back so that they will articulate smoothly inside of the knee, and won't get in the way or won't bite our user. So I'm going to do a number of different things with it, a couple of different hammers. All my tools are home built. I don't have any real high-end stakes or anvils. Everything is sort of a traditional Butco method. Butco was a name dreamed up by a very good friend many years ago when we were learning to do all this in his father's shop. Butco stands for Butt Ugly Tool Company. Used to be on Fridays that whatever tools we had found that we had needed during the week, we would try to fabricate, and fabricate them we did, building them out of just about any kind of spare material we could find. See if I can. Has this one actually got the Butco stamp on it somewhere? I don't know. I can't see it on this one. Let's see if it's on the other one here. Oh, get my big ugly head away. Yep, there we go. Butco. And so if you can see it there, B-U-T-C-O, Butt Ugly Tool Company. So yep, Fridays are our traditional days. This one you can see is pretty simple. Hardened steel ball, probably a ball bearing, and we found along the side of the railway tracks. Railway spike, and basically just a chunk of square stock. Another railway spike welded on to act as a lock, so when it gets into our table. My stake table is pretty simple. I've got it on rollers, so it's easy to get around. I've got 3 points in it. Very seldom have anything more than 1 or 2 stakes in here at a time. So it can be used as a raising stake or planishing stake. Again, I just make what I figure I need. So, anywho, right now I'm going to start off. Move this guy out of the way. See a little better. Bring this guy up. Some kind of pipe fitting. Don't know where I found it. I ended up grinding out the inside so it has a nice rolled lip, and then I threw some leather in there just to keep my piece from sinking too far into it. Right now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to roll this edge back a little bit. So just using a modified peening hammer. Again, I find most of my hammers in places like the Restore, secondhand shops, go to old estate sales, and normally I find just the heads, and I just refinish them. The most important thing about your heads and about your hammers, make sure they're good steel. Don't buy anything that's basically just run of the mill hobbyist stuff that you can find at places like Princess Auto and that. They may be cheap to begin, you know, to start out with as far as price is concerned, but they're usually hard on the outside, and then they got some kind of soft iron or whatever on the inside, and once you polish the heads up and clean them up, you lose the hardened surface. So you want decent steel. So I could work this hot. If I did, I wouldn't be using the leather dish. Makes it a little easier and a little more malleable, but these I'm just doing cold. So just going to start off. Now, what I've done with fluting the middle like this, I think about this as two pieces fitting together. It's kind of hard to visualize that maybe, but for me, I'm going to work this side, start here, work this side, get it to match up, and I'm just going to do that going back and forth. And I work anything that I've put a hard divide in like that. I find that once you put your flute in, once you've got this ridge in, that's it. You know, the way the material is transferring, moving around, the way energy is moving, this changes the dynamic completely. So, okay, just gonna get going here. So what I'm doing is I'm actually dishing right in, just like with the copper bowls and anything else that I've done, the brooches. The edge of the Pauline, the lame here, is pushing against. You can actually, I don't know if you can see it on the video, but you can see where the edge of the steel is biting in a little bit to the leather, and then the other part of it, which is curved, is resting up in here. So what I'm doing is I'm hammering into the void. Do it on the other side. See how fast that's starting to curve the surface. So I'm just going to pull it out a little bit. Myself some room. Now, I'm going to be doing a couple of different things here. One, I'm going to use this. I'm also going to use the ball stake and draw this down over the ball stake. And then the flat plate here, I'm going to be doing the same thing on that that I'm doing on here, except I'm going to be moving it back and forth so that I'm moving my material around with the hammer. Some people move and work pushing it away from them. It's a good way to visualize it, is you're moving the material away from you. Other people, including myself, I'll do it and I'll draw towards me. So I'll use the other end of the... I think for the sake of the video, it was so that you can maybe see the way the metal's moving a little bit. I was doing it on this angle so it's better lighting. Now this is 16 gauge mild steel. And I mean, you can work with heavier steels, you can work with the medium carbon steels, which will work harden as you work with them. The other beauty of those is the fact that you can throw those into the kiln, and we can temper those as well, because they are a mild spring steel or a medium spring steel. So, but these guys are your run-of-the-mill 16 gauge, easily accessible mild steel. It's coming along rather nicely. Okay. Notice I'm using the peening end. I'm not actually using the... I could. You also notice I'm not putting a lot of energy into this. You don't have to. At least not for this application. Now, you can definitely see that I've got a bit of a bowl happening here in that surface. So what I'm going to do now going to pull this one out, and I'm going to put in my ball stake. Again, without knocking over a good old camera here. I'm going to switch hammers, so I'm going to put away a dishing hammer that I've got there, and locate my other hammer, which I think is, no, that's not it. There she be. And again, this is just another pretty standard peening hammer. Boy, I hope you can see this. Otherwise I've just shot a whole lot of video. Now again, you can see how quickly that's moving. So what I'm doing, so using the hammer in the position of the stake is acting like a little anvil, and I'm pulling my material down over the top of my stake, adding some resistance to the other side, so I'm actually bending the material, pushing it in the direction I want it to go in. Switching over to the other side to keep it even. My stake's wiggling a little bit, but it doesn't hurt it too much. I've gotten accustomed to it. Some people get really fussy if their stake is moving. I just, over the years, haven't had to worry about it too much. Everything I've made, all my helmets, all the different legs, everything, I've pretty much made on these benches. So you get used to your tools. It doesn't mean that everybody should get used to your tools. You know, everybody has their own preference. Now, I will also try, you'll see that I'll change my angle of attack with my hammer on my stake, but I prefer to be hitting in exactly the same spot repeatedly, and then I'll move my work back and forth. Now you can imagine the fact that because I'm banging down like that with this, I'm pinching the steel. So what I want to do is that pinch steel, I want to move in, I want to control the direction it's moving in. So that's why you'll see me changing shape, or changing position here, and you'll see me changing position of my hammerhead in order to basically control and manipulate the shape of the piece I'm working on. Okay, that's part of it. I'm going to give before I go on to the second part here, I'm going to give myself a little rest. Possibly go grab myself some bourbon. Catch you in a bit.